I want to tell you about the moment a man stopped believing in everything. Not a weak man, not a conspiracy theorist, not someone who lost his job or his wife or his faith in some dramatic Hollywood way. A normal man, mid-40s, coached his kid's soccer team, went to church, not every Sunday but most, voted, paid his taxes, trusted the process, and then one day he just didn't. He didn't have an argument. He didn't have a reason he could point to. He said, and I'm going to quote him exactly, "I didn't lose my faith. I just noticed it was already gone." That sentence has been living in my head for 2 years. Because here's what nobody wants to say out loud. He is not the exception anymore. He is the majority. Trust in government, historic lows. Trust in media, historic lows. Trust in the church, in science, in each other, in the idea that tomorrow will be better than today. All of it collapsing. Simultaneously, quietly. The Moral Decay Index tracks this, not opinions, behaviors. The data that doesn't lie because people don't know they're generating it. Church attendance has dropped over 30% in a single decade. Not gradually, sharply. Marriage rates are at their lowest point since records began. Fatherless households have tripled since 1960. Social trust, the basic willingness to believe a stranger means you no harm, has fallen off a cliff. These aren't political talking points. They are a civilization's vital signs, and every single one of them is in decline at the same time. When one metric drops, it's a trend. When all of them drop together, that is a pattern. And patterns in history have names. The Romans had a phrase for it, panem et circenses, bread and circuses. Keep the population fed and entertained, and they will never ask who is stealing from them. We've updated the formula. We have algorithmic feeds instead of coliseums, outrage instead of gladiators, dopamine loops instead of bread. But the architecture is identical: distract, divide, and extract. Rome didn't fall to the barbarians, not really. The barbarians walked through a door that Rome had already opened from the inside. The military had become mercenary. The Senate had become theater. The citizens had stopped believing the empire was worth defending because they had watched it stop deserving defense. Polybius saw it coming in 150 BC. He wrote that every great republic carries within it the seeds of its own destruction, that prosperity breeds decadence. Decadence breeds corruption, and corruption breeds collapse. The result will be that when they have made one man their master and lord, they are then enslaved. He was describing Rome. But read it again slowly. Tell me that doesn't describe where we are standing right now. Here's what most people miss about the collapse of trust. It isn't primarily political. It isn't primarily economic. It is spiritual. I don't say that as a sermon. I say it as a diagnosis. When people stop believing in something higher than themselves, higher than their tribe, their party, their algorithm, they don't become neutral. They become desperate. They find new gods, ideology, identity, outrage, the approval of strangers online. The Stoics understood this with a clarity that modern psychology is only now catching up to. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul which has no fixed aim loses itself. Not gradually, it loses itself. The dissolution is total. The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. That line was written in 170 AD. It reads like it was written this morning. The Christian tradition says something parallel. Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. Not struggle, not suffer, perish. The Hebrew word is prarbin. It means to cast off restraint entirely, to become unmoored. Both traditions, separated by centuries, by theology, by culture, arrive at the same warning. When a people lose their higher frame of reference, they don't simply drift. They collapse inward. They become capable of anything because nothing is sacred anymore. That is not a religious statement, it is a historical one, and we are watching it happen in real time. There is a phase in civilizational collapse that historians call the epistemological crisis. It's the point where people don't just disagree about facts, they stop believing facts are real. We are in that phase now. Social media algorithms don't just show you what you want to see, they actively reward the most emotionally provocative version of any story. Truth becomes a product, and like all products, it gets manufactured to sell. The result, and this is the dangerous part, is that people stop trusting truth itself. They don't become skeptical, they become nihilistic. If everything is spin, if every institution lies, if every authority has an agenda, then nothing can be trusted. And if nothing can be trusted, then power simply goes to whoever shouts loudest. This is exactly how Rome's Senate became theater. This is exactly how the Weimar Republic collapsed. This is exactly how every civilization that has lost its moral compass has ended. Not overnight, but slowly, quietly, then all at once. Hemingway said that about bankruptcy, but it applies with terrible precision to the death of truth. So what do you do when the institutions have failed, when the media lies, when the church has been compromised by politics on both sides, when the very concept of shared truth feels like a relic? The Stoics had an answer, and it is almost offensively simple. You return to what you can control, not the empire, not the Senate, not the algorithms or the headlines or the collapse of trust at the civilizational level. Those things are not in your hands, but your character is, your clarity is, your ability to discern truth from manipulation. That is yours, and no one can take it without your permission. Epictetus, who was a slave, let's remember, not a philosopher with a comfortable study, wrote that men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about those things. The chaos is real, but how you orient yourself within the chaos, that is the practice. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he is not, but rejoices for those which he has. The Christian parallel is not incidental, it's structural. Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. That is not a passive instruction, that is a call to active resistance. The world will try to make you anxious, divided, lost. The renewal of your mind is the act of refusal. Neo-Dark Stoicism is not optimism. It does not pretend the decay isn't real, or that the collapse isn't coming, or that institutions will reform themselves if we just believe hard enough. It is something harder. It is the commitment to remain clear, grounded, and purposeful, not because the world deserves it, but because you do. The man I told you about at the start, the one who said he didn't lose his faith, he just noticed it was already gone. I've thought about him a lot. I think he was telling the truth. I think he had been given a version of faith that was really just social conformity wearing religious clothing. And when the social conformity collapsed, there was nothing underneath it. That is the crisis. Not that people are leaving God or leaving institutions or leaving the idea of shared truth. It's that so many of them never had anything real to leave in the first place. They had comfort, they had familiarity, they had the feeling of meaning without the discipline of it. The Stoics called that eudaimonia, not happiness, but flourishing. The deep structural well-being that comes from living in alignment with your highest values. It cannot be given to you. It cannot be taken from you. It has to be built daily in the choices that nobody else sees. If you're watching this, you already feel the decay. You already know something is wrong. The question isn't whether the diagnosis is correct. It's whether you're going to let the disease take you or whether you're going to become someone who is genuinely immune to it. That's what this channel's for. I'll see you in the next one.